Unit 6, Lesson 5 is about percents. A percent always compares two quantities as a proportional relationship out of 100. Percent means per 100. Per and cent obviously means 100. Well, you can do percents a few ways. The first way your part over your total equals your rate out of 100. Sometimes people call it your part over your base equals your rate. And the one I really dislike the most, and unfortunately it was the way you were probably taught, is over of equals percent over 100. I don't like this way. I can make up lots of word problems that do not contain the word is, do not contain the word of, and you're going to have to understand how to do it. I prefer one of these two ways, where you actually understand that what's happening is there's a total, you get some part, and that becomes your rate. Well, that's how I do your tests. For example, your last test, I believe, had 64 points on it. And then I count up how many points you earned. Let's say you got 58 out of 64. That's the part you got right. Out of the total questions there were, and then you simply take a calculator and decide to convert it into out of 100. So all I do is I take 58 and I divide it by 64, and there your percent, your part out of 100, 0.90625. And then that would be that you got a 91% when we move the decimal over 2 places and round to the nearest whole number. So that's how I would like you to learn how to do percents, so that you're really understanding the part, the total, and your rate out of 100. So for example, what is 6% of 27? Well, now you're going, well, Mrs. Trulin, look, there's the is and there's the of. And in this one, there's an is and an of. Yeah, but later on, we're going to have problems where there are no is or of in there. So hopefully you do this. You look at this and you say, okay, I need a part and I need a total. Well, my total is 27. My rate is also my percent. And this is where you may choose to do 6 over 100, or you can do 0.06, which is the same as 6 over 100, just in decimal form. And I don't know what the part is. So in other words, this is like saying I've got $27 and I'm going to give you 6% of my money. You can then cross multiply. And solve from there. $1.62. There is a third way you could do it. You could do it by translation. What means X, is means equal, 6% changes to 0.06, of means multiply, and then 27. If you multiply it out, well, look what you get. You get the same answer. $24 is what part of 120? So again, if I did it this way, my total is 120. And I only have 24 parts of 120. And I have to figure out what percentage that is. Well, that's just an easy dividing question. So if I take 24 and divide it by 120, I get 0.2 equals X percent. So if I want to change that into percent, remember, I just have to move the decimal over, and it's 20%. Once again, when it's a simple little problem like this, you can do straight translation. 24 equals what percent of means multiply 120. And if I were to solve this, I divide by 120, and look, you get the same answer. 24 divided by 120. For number 3, 6.25% of what is 350? Aha! These are a little harder to do. What's my part and what's my total? Well, I definitely have my percent, 6.25%. Of what is 350? Actually, 350 is the part, and I don't know what the total is. So 350 over X equals, remember to change this, so if I took this decimal and moved it twice, it would be 0.625. I can cross multiply. And then the last part to get X alone would be 350 divided by 0.0625. And when I get that, I get X is 5,600. So it's kind of like I had $5,600. For some strange reason, I gave you 350. And what percentage of my money did I give you? I gave you 6.25%. And once again, you could have done this by translation. Just remember, percents always have to be turned into decimals before you can work with them. Of means multiply. What means X. Is means equal. And 350. And look, when you go to solve this again, you're getting the same fraction as I got over here. In order to find X, it's 350 divided by 0.0625. All right, so here is where we don't have a lot of those is and ofs. We have to read and figure it out. Here's my formula. Let's see what we got. Gabe is buying a pair of jeans at a local store that are priced at $45. He knows that the county he lives in has an 8% sales tax added onto the price. If Gabe has a gift card for $50, will it cover the cost of his jeans and the tax? I don't see any is's or ofs in there. So, you could do it a lot of ways. You could do this. You could say my total is 45. I don't know what my part is, but I do know that it has to equal 8%. All right, if I cross multiply, 45 times 0.08 is $3.60. So that's what the tax is. Now that's just the tax. And you know that when you go to a store, you have to take the price, add on the tax, and that's how much you're going to have to pay. So he has to pay $48.60. But remember, he had a gift card for $50. Is that enough? Yes. There's another way to do this. To do tax, I do a shortcut way. I say it's $45, and then I multiply it by 1.08, and that will get me the total cost. You see, the 1 stands for I have to pay the $45. 1 times 45 is 45. And, that's what the decimal means, I have to pay an extra 8%. So I could just do 45 times 1.08. And look what happens. You get the same cost, $48.60. So there's a lot of ways to do percents. You just have to find out which way you like. Okay, one last example. The population of deer in a forest preserve is predicted to decline by 5%. If the current population is 560, what's the population for next year? Okay, we've got a couple of ways to do this. We're going to hold on to that last question for a minute. I could do my old part over total equals percent. So I'm going to stick with that. I don't know what part of the deer population is going to remain. That's what they're asking me to find. I know right now we have 560, but it's going to go down by 5%. Cross multiply, and I get 28. Now careful, that's 5% represents the decline in deer. It does not represent how many are there. So I have one more step to do. 560 minus 28. Well, 560 minus 20 is 540, and then minus 8 more is 532. So there will be 532 deer left. Now, it says what percent of the deer will remain? Well, that's how I do this problem. This was a two-step problem. You had to find out how many it declined by, and then you had to subtract. Well, I do it this way. There's 560 deer, and it's going to decline by 5%. That means 95% of the herd is still there. And that's right, when you take 560 and multiply it by 0.95, yep, if you take your calculators out, you'll find out that X equals 532. I get right to my answer. So 95% of the herd will remain. And that's 532 of the little deers. Haha.